Because remember, I've been titling it Peace is Your True Nature. And it is our true nature. Peace is always here, but we don't always experience it because of the ways that our mind is always wandering, the way that our mind is racing out into the future, pushing back on the past, comparing, judging, narrating. All of these ways that we get lost in our thoughts that prevent us from knowing that peace that is always there. But that does not mean that we don't experience emotions, that we don't have ups and downs, that we don't have periods where it's like, oh, it's a little rushed. I got to kind of move along a little bit faster. Things are changing. I've got to be somewhere. So we, maybe feel a little, even a little stress, a little anxiety around it. Like, that's okay. Like, little bits and little bursts is perfectly normal. Or to even feel disappointment about something. Of course, we always want to try and keep our expectations low because that helps with the expectations. But sometimes we do. We get that little, that punch in the gut of disappointment. But it is for us to not resist also when we're feeling, we're kind of rushing around a little bit and we feel a little bit of butterflies in our stomach or just a little bit more anxiety, or we're feeling a little bit of that disappointment. And then the mind wants to chase back to, I want to feel good again. I want to feel the peace again. Like I should be back there. And all we're doing is still the same mind movement of resisting what it is that's arising, chasing what we want on the other side. And so to be mindful as well that this isn't about turning into robots. It's not about we're not going to experience emotions or feelings or highs or lows. Like, of course we're going to. We're humans. We're in these bodies. It's about smoothing out the ups and downs, recognizing when we're adding in suffering, prolonging it through these mind movements, but also really recognizing that we are going to have times of just low energy, or we're feeling tired, or you didn't sleep well the night before. To not resist that either. Just because you're on a spiritual path does not mean you don't experience unpleasant emotions or feelings. It is a normal part of it. And I bring this up because I think all too often on the spiritual path, we tend to think it's all just rainbows and puppy dogs and everything's just happy, and it is a lot more like that. Absolutely. There's a lot less suffering on this path, but we still experience emotions, and we want to experience emotions. We want to experience life. You wouldn't go to a movie that nothing happened. You want to see something happen to the main character. You want to see something. And it's the same way in our lives. We do still want to experience the world. We're here to experience life. And that means we do still have emotions. So if we're feeling a little down, feeling a little sad, or you're feeling a little anxious, recognize that. Of course, recognize if it's just a thought-created state. And of course, let go of the thoughts, come into what you're feeling. But just recognize again, it's just, oh, this is just a normal part of human experience. Things are a little chaotic right now. And don't push back on it. And just be okay with it. And it'll still feel a little unpleasant, a little uncomfortable, but it's still actually peaceful. You can still access that peace if you don't push back on it. If you don't tell yourself this shouldn't be happening. And I think when we expect it to happen as well, I think we're better prepared for it when it does happen. We have all had a range of emotions in the last 24 hours, a range. And that is normal for us. Don't resist the normal swings that we feel throughout the day. Just learning how to be with it. Recognize if it is a mind movement, chasing the good feeling that you had in the morning, the high energy. That's what's happening. Or recognize if you're resisting the low energy that you're feeling at that moment. Resisting. And just practice being okay with it. And what you'll find is it's just a little bit uncomfortable. just a little bit uncomfortable. But remember as well, when we have that good energy and everything's really flowing and we're feeling really great, it wouldn't have as much meaning if we didn't have those days when we had low energy, when we weren't really feeling our best, right? If we've been sick for a few days and then you're back, you feel better. It's like, oh my God, I forgot just how good it feels to have my energy again, to not have the sore throat, right? It's the contrast. We still want the contrast, and we will still get the contrast regardless if you want it or not. You are going to get the contrast. But what we are talking about here predominantly is the self-created suffering, where we are creating unpleasant conditions for ourselves through our thoughts, through our mind movements, and being more mindful of what's happening and recognizing that, to allow ourselves to be more present with whatever it is that's arising. And when we are, we still access that peace. It's there if we're not resisting what's happening.